Hi everyone, my name is McKenna and today I want to talk to you about Chatter by Ethan Kross. He got his PhD from Columbia. He currently works at the University of Michigan. He is in charge of it's like emotional something laboratory. What is it? Emotion and self-control laboratory. So, he's just pretty well renowned in the field of understanding the conscious mind and understanding memory and thought and how to control those kind of things. And so I read this book because it perked my interest because I knew that he has a book called Shift about emotions, but the reviews on that were a little questionable, I would say. Like, they were just kind of saying that it was just basic concepts rolled into a 200-page book and it could have been a blog post. So I wanted to look at his first book, Chatter, because it seemed like he had a lot more connection to this topic, and it sounds like being in charge of the emotion and control laboratory and with the classes he teaches at Michigan, that this was more his style and what his research has actually focused on. So I have 3 takeaways and we can jump right in. In the first part of the book, Ethan Kross talks about what chatter is. He defines it more as self-criticism, negative self-talk, or positive self-talk, mostly self-doubt, questioning your worth, questioning your actions and behaviors. And I think he tries to emphasize in the first part of the book why chatter isn't what it always looks like in the media, because I think a lot of times people think of, you're talking to yourself, you're crazy. And self-talk in your mind, the chatter in your head, that inner monologue, is actually not always being crazy. Like, there's definitely some ways that it's actually you showing you're anxious, you showing you are self-regulating and different things like that. You're processing emotions. And he talks about some realities that people don't have an inner monologue. Now for me, I constantly have thoughts in my head. I'm constantly thinking and talking to myself in my head. And that's not like a sign of substance use or mental illness, which the media often portrays it. And so he tries to steer people away from that thought right away in the beginning half of the book, because I think he wants people that are actually dealing with anxiety and that overwhelming self-talk and the inner chatter to use this book as a self-help tool. Now, I personally did not feel this was a self-help tool for me. I read it more as like an educational, like people call it like sci-pop, like psychology, popular, whatever, kind of a genre book. And that's kind of how I perceived it, as more educational for working with clients or the teens that I work with. How do I help guide people in understanding what their inner thoughts are and the inner voices? So I think it's valuable. A takeaway for me would be that it's valuable to understand the value of your inner voice, how to use it, understand it, and realize it's not just you talking to yourself and being crazy. My second takeaway is the value of zooming out and the zooming out perspective. Now that can kind of seem like common sense because, oh, if I take a step back, I understand my situation better, or I can look at it from a different lens. Yes, but where's the science behind that, right? So his book does a good job of connecting the idea and the common sense thought to an actual research study. The study that he did was asking two groups of people, one to rethink a negative memory from their own perspective, like I saw this and I did this, versus somebody that's more like a fly on the wall, kind of saying like, well, the person that looks like me was doing this, or oh, they reacted because of this. And he noticed like there was actual value to the psychological distance that he was having these participants have. So they were able to show the brain area and the hypothalamus and stuff, the reactions, the emotional areas weren't flooded when they were doing the fly on the wall, the zooming out perspective. They were actually able to break it down and think about it differently in a much healthier, less, threat stress response, more of a like challenge threat response. And he talks about stress responses a little bit, which if you watch my review on 10 to 25, they talk a little bit about just different stress levels and things like that, and how our brain is so impacted and our physical well-being is so impacted by the way that our thoughts are literally just inside of our head. Our physical being is changed. Our physical reactions, the way our brain works, is shifted. So zooming out and being a fly on the wall, and if you're going through a difficult situation, using that tool to be like, okay, wait, had a negative thought, negative this, let me zoom out and think about this as if I'm not me, as if I'm a fly on the wall, is so useful. And I think that that's a great takeaway that I thought he did a good job of explaining. And he talks also about how chatter, while some people may be reading the book, it doesn't mean if you have negative chatter that you have anxiety, depression, PTSD. He calls it like a transdiagnosis thing. So like a transdiagnosis symptom or whatever, where it's like, it's an underlying factor. So if you have negative self-talk, negative chatter, it's an underlying factor, but it doesn't mean you have depression or anxiety or PTSD. And I think sometimes, again, the media, social media, often make us think, oh, we have this inside voice, we're crazy, we have all these things. No, you're processing things, it's good. Chatter in your head can be positive and we want to harness that, but if it's negative, maybe we should zoom out a little more. So my third and final takeaway is the value of placebos in harnessing and changing your negative self-talk and that inner negative chatter that you might have. Now, at first I was skeptical of this because I didn't understand fully exactly what he was saying at first, but he showed it with science and research and studies that he did. So then I was like, oh, this makes sense. There is a way that we can use a placebo in our head to say, if I believe this, then it will be better. He used a study with another scientist to look at people that had IBS or that were heartbroken and say, here's a placebo. I'm telling you it's a placebo, but if you tell yourself that it's gonna work, it'll make you feel better and you will feel better. And study respondents were like, yeah, I do feel better. I told myself it would work and it did. The study was with the heartbroken people was that they were thinking of a difficult memory or looking at pictures of like gore or violence, which they consented to, and they were given a saline spray. And so they were told the saline spray is a placebo. It's literally saline spray. It's not pain relief, but it's a placebo for pain relief. So if you think it's pain relief, it'll work as pain relief. And they showed much more positive reactions and emotional processing to the images or the memories that they were thinking of without actually having a painkiller. How do we apply that to negative self-chatter, negative self-talk in our head? If you tell yourself something, if you create a belief saying, I am okay, I don't need to be doing these things, whatever it may be, trying to break down your negative self-talk, the chances of you actually breaking it down and being okay and your expectations melding with that belief and being true are much more likely, and science backs that up. So I think there's value in looking at how self-talk and chatter in our heads isn't just a mental illness. It can be an underlying symptom of a mental illness, but doesn't mean you have a mental illness. You can harness it. There are tools that he puts in the back of this book that are just pages and pages of like, oh, these are all these concepts and tools that you can use to kind of help yourself learn how to harness your self-talk, use distance self-talk, normalize your experience. Some of this is stupid. Like some of it's like, change the view. Okay, go outside. Yeah, no, duh, nature helps. We all know that. He gives you like the framework to actually be able to do it by yourself, which I think is really valuable. But if you tell yourself something, you can start to believe it. You can start to actually follow through on a lot of these mindsets and change the way that you talk to your inside thoughts, and the way that your inside thoughts impact your physical sense, your physical well-being, your mental well-being, your brain's processing. So I think this book was valuable. It was short, obviously. It's like 100 some pages, maybe like 160. Online it says it's like 257, but you have to consider like it stops at 160 and the rest of it is all notes and tools. I think it's worth picking up. I think if you're looking for a self-help book, if you have a lot of anxiety, I'm not really sure how helpful this would be. Go see a therapist, right? And maybe supplement it with something like this and start to use the tools in the back of this to think more about how to impact your daily life. But I think for someone like me that's studying social work and is a social worker and works with teens that are constantly filling their brains with social media and comparativeness and negative self-talk, this is really helpful to be like, hey kids, zoom out. Hey kids, take a step back, go outside, do these things. So yeah, I would say I recommend it, but I do think that he misses a lot or doesn't talk about certain things. So I'm not gonna give it a 5-star, but pretty close. So, alrighty.